couple of days ahead with a roller coaster of warm and cold temperatures, but no rain in sight. Hello CISD students, this is Mr. W coming to you from the CISD Weather Center, and we are going to get right into the details of your forecast. All right, to get us started out, let's look at the current conditions here in Capel. Whenever you're making the forecast, one of the first things you want to look at are just what's going on outside and what measurements and observations you can make. So right now, if you look out there, it's mostly cloudy, high clouds. Some sunshine is trying to peek through. Very windy though, as you'll notice. Temperatures right up there around 73, so it's actually really pretty warm out there. The dew point and the relative humidity measure how much water is in the air, and if you look at both of those numbers, they're pretty low. If you compare the dew point temperature to the air temperature, it's actually only 53, where if we wanted to get rain or a lot of clouds, we would want it to be closer to 73, the actual temperature. And of course, the humidity, the relative humidity, is saying the same thing. It's only about 45%. So again, you want that number to be around 100% if you're going to expect any rain. Our air pressure right now, it's 29.9 inches and falling. We have a cold front on the way, as we'll talk about in just a minute. And our winds, again, pretty gusty out of the south. They're around 18 miles an hour, but they're probably gusting over about 25 miles an hour right now. All right, so the big weather story right now across the country is a big storm system starting to take shape in the central part of the country, and that is a low pressure storm system, which we say low pressure tends to mean lousy weather, which means you're going to get some clouds, rain, snow, and ice in this case as well. But down in Texas, we're really on the outside of that storm system, and we are not going to be very much affected by it. It's moving off to our north. So for us, it'll just be more of what you see outside right now, which is high cloud, sunshine, and some wind. But around that low pressure, there is a counterclockwise spin, and it looks kind of like this. That's what the air is doing around the low pressure. And that brings in lots of moisture and water from the southern part of the country and the Gulf of Mexico. And it also brings in lots of cool air from Canada. So when you combine those two air masses together, you get pretty powerful storms at this time of year. We are going to be seeing several cold fronts over the next few days, and cold fronts are attached to low pressure. They're low pressure themselves. And as they approach us, we'll see our pressure fall like it is now. And those fronts, behind those fronts, it's going to get cooler each time. And eventually by next week, it's going to be downright cold here. So what's the reason for it? Well, there's a big low pressure up in Canada right now. They call it the polar vortex, and don't worry, don't get scared about it. It's always there. It just sometimes heads further south, and that allows that cold air to make it into this country and make some people have very cold weather. And as that happens, though, it's going to get pretty close to us here in Texas. And what moves all this stuff around, and this is a hugely important thing as we look at the forecast coming up, we have something called the jet stream, which is way up in the upper part of the atmosphere, way up above our heads, in the highest parts of the sky. And that is a kind of a fast-moving tunnel of air, and that air is moving really quickly now. And also, if you look at the shape of it, it's like a snake. It comes out of Canada, and that's what's going to drag that cold air southward into this country and towards us here in Texas. And it's also going to be what steers and moves our storm systems, our low pressures along, and also the cold fronts. So it's a big player in how our weather actually will look the next few days. And you can see it shoots right over the top of us here in Texas. And that's going to mean very active weather for us. So that's why the cold fronts are going to be coming in pretty fast over the next couple of days. So you can already see that if you look at this map right now. Here in Texas, again, we're about right there. We have lots of little symbols next to us. We have a red symbol with little circular shaped teeth on it, and we have a blue symbol with triangular shaped teeth. Those are the warm front is the red one, and the cold front is the blue one. And the teeth point in the direction these things are moving. So if you look at this, the warm front is already pushed past us, which is why it's so nice out right now. It brought in behind it warm air. And so it's in the 70s right now. However, the cold front is coming in, is coming in right behind it, and it's not too far away already. So if you look, that's going to be bringing in cooler air behind it, and that will also be because the winds behind our cold front are out of the north, and that's allowing that cooler air to make it towards us. So we're going to see our temperatures, as soon as that front comes through, start to fall off pretty quickly, starting right now today. As we go forward in time, we will get a little break in the action, and that is because we will have some high pressure moving in briefly for a short time. And around high pressure, we get a clockwise flow of air. And high pressure usually means high and dry. So that's going to mean very few clouds, lots of sunshine, not much moisture. So it's going to feel dry. And the winds should calm down here and there for when we're under those high pressures. So we will see that happen over the next couple of days, once or twice. But again, the jet stream is right over us, so it's going to have the tendency to bring lots more weather with it as we move through. So if you look at our temperatures, again, we're right down here in Texas, 70s and some really nice weather actually over all of Texas at the moment. But that is changing rapidly. If you look up in where Colorado and Wyoming and Nevada are, those temperatures are in the 30s and 40s. So if I'm forecasting the weather, I'm going to start to think our temperatures might look a little bit more like that, especially at nighttime when the sun goes down. Here's another great tool that meteorologists use to make forecasts. This is from space. If you go way, way, way above the Earth and we put what we call a satellite up there, it kind of aims down and takes pictures of our weather and what's going on. And what you can see is lots of high clouds kind of moving really fast too. That shows you that jet stream is right where we said it was. It's kind of over our heads, and that's moving those clouds along really quickly. But they're really high up in the atmosphere, and you can still see some sunshine out there. Another great tool too is radar, and this is basically a tool we have that looks for where the precipitation is, where the rain and the snow is. Down here in Texas, again, we are high and dry right now. There is nothing really going on in Texas, and a lot of this rain and snow is going to have a hard time getting into Texas because it is just so dry here right now, and that's not going to change. So very quiet in terms of rain and snow and ice for Texas. We're not going to see any of that. Most of that will head off to our north and off to our east as well. One thing we will not escape, though, is the wind. So this is showing now and through probably the next few hours. If you look where we live, there's some green color and even some like yellow-orange. That, if you look at the key down here, that is showing basically 20 to 30 mile an hour winds, and that is going to be the story, especially after the cold front comes through. When the temperature comes down a little bit, we're going to notice it feels a lot cooler because that wind is really going to be racing, and it feels very cold against your skin when you have cold air and wind mixed together. All right, so on to the forecast. With all that information, we can say now that the rest of today, we should see those skies clear out after the cold front moves through. Those clouds move with it, and it will start to get colder. So it's nice now, around 70 to 75 degrees, but you're going to notice those temperatures dropping actually this afternoon. And especially once the sun gets lower in the sky, it'll be getting cool pretty quick out there. And the wind will be noticeable. It's not going anywhere. And they'll be out of the north from Canada. So that's why we'll see those temperatures dropping so quickly. Overnight, though, mostly clear, still kind of windy. If you look carefully, if you're an early riser, you might see the last quarter moon come up later tonight. But that wind won't die down, and the temperature pretty cool. So 39 degrees. It'll be really cool when you wake up in the morning. Tomorrow, sunny, so that's going to let the temperature come back up almost to around 60 degrees, maybe not quite. Still a little breezy, but that wind is going to shift around and become more south as the day goes on. So that is in response, or it's a sign that that next cold front is on the way. And so for Friday night, mostly clear. We'll start to see those clouds come in a little bit more by the morning as that cold front gets closer and closer. The winds still kind of out of the southeast, around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Not quite as cool on Friday night, so 42 degrees, but still fairly cold. On Saturday, that's when we get our next cold front. So you'll start to see those clouds go away again, similar to now today, as the cold front goes through, and those temperatures once again will start to fall actually during the afternoon. And the wind again will shift out of the north. So it's going to have a roller coaster, like we said, and those winds are going to be pretty strong again at 20 to 25 miles an hour. And again, that temperature will drop because of it. And so the last thing I wanted to show you was the extended forecast, and I think my friends over at Fox 4, they can make better graphics than I can. Basically saying the same thing for today, tomorrow, and Saturday. But as you go into next week, this is when another cold front coming in on Monday night will actually really drop those temperatures sharply. It's going to be some of the coolest air we've had all year so far. And so with that, there might be slight chance of a rain shower as that cold front comes through. But other than that, it's fairly dry and obviously staying fairly cold. So I thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again soon.